Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Molly Heffernan, Director of Marketing for the Tory Burch Foundation. And this is our small business webinar series. Our webinar series is generously sponsored by Campaign Monitor, a global technology company that specializes in email marketing. They help us out with quite a bit, and they've made today's series possible. We get to offer this entire program for free and help thousands and thousands of small business owners year round. So thank you to Campaign Monitor. Now, the main event. We are thrilled to welcome back Petia Abdurazak, the Grow Google Partner Trainer, expert, all things digital, is here with us to help coach us small business owners, entrepreneurship folks on everything Google. We want to grow our skills, get prepared, and that's exactly what Grow with Google also does. They provide free training, tools, resources that can help your small business. So when you're done here with us today, highly encourage you to go check out Grow with Google. They're a valuable resource. I know our team uses them too, so helpful. Petia is also an entrepreneur, founder and director of digital strategy for Stylista Group, where she has helped shape, accelerate the marketing needs for a variety of small businesses, corporations, and nonprofits. So truly, we are in the best hands possible today. So Petia, you are going to give us insight into search, that mystery term, how it really works, how entrepreneurs here can improve their websites, discoverability using things like Google My Business, Google Ads, Google Trends, so many great Google products that I think we all need to get up to speed on because Google is the ultimate search engine. So for folks tuning in, for folks whose first time it is, we will go through all of Petia's presentation. Then we will reserve time at the end for Q&A. So please put your questions right into the Q&A box. So use the chat for all the fun, give some shout outs, let us know what you're loving. Q&A box for your questions. We don't want to miss anyone's questions. All right, enough of me. I'll get a drink of water and turn my camera off, and over to you, Petia, to really drop wisdom on us today.
Thank you for the warm welcome once again. All right, you guys, let me get my screen shared so that you guys can follow along. It's indeed a pleasure to join you once again. And today we're actually going to hone in on how to make better business decisions with Google Analytics. So for those of you who are new to this, this is a great starting point. For those of you who have been trying to use Google Analytics to the best of its ability, hopefully after today's session, you would have picked up 3 things that you can then go back and implement to help to understand the data that you have at your fingertips so that you can improve your performance. Okay, so Grow with Google is an initiative that's about 5 years old. This is a new year, right? And the whole goal of the program is to help people to grow their skills, careers, and businesses by offering these free digital upskilling sessions in collaboration with partner organizations such as the Tory Burch Foundation. I'm not going to reintroduce myself. You guys know more than enough about me. If anyone is interested, here's my contact information. You will be getting a copy of the deck that I presented today. So you'll have my contact information. Please don't be shy. Email and LinkedIn usually is the best way to get my immediate attention. And please do follow me on social media as well. I share lots of information about small business digital marketing, not only Google related, but everything that a small business can do to increase or maximize the potential of having a really robust online presence. Okay, so let's set the stage for this presentation. And we'll start off by talking about data. There was a time when getting access to data, especially for a small business owner, was a little difficult and extremely expensive. The good news is that that's no longer the case. We have access to lots of data, right? So the opportunity for someone who understands how to use Google's tools is to harness the power of Google taking this huge amount of data for you and presenting it in a way that's manageable, in a way that you can understand, so that you can interpret what all of this information means for your small business. What you need to do is to find the interconnections, patterns, and themes, and build in context for genuinely understanding what this data means. The ultimate goal as you go through this process is for you to uncover an actionable insight that you can use to prove or disprove a hypothesis, okay? And you should be able to come up with something that you can do immediately to move the needle for your business. So this is a quote that we like to use, and it says, data makes your briefcase heavy, insights make you rich. If you guys are wondering why I'm looking there, it's because the screen I'm sharing is like right here. So I'm not crazy, cold, but not crazy. Okay, so what this quote serves to remind us is that getting access to data is not a problem anymore, right? What you need to do is get really good at using tools like Google Analytics to understand what that data means. And today, as we go through the presentation, we're going to talk about how you can understand analytics better to move the needle forward. So let's dive in. First, let us define some of the terms that we'll be using, starting with insights. What is an insight? Insights help you create more effective business solutions using strategies informed by what? Real consumer truths. How people are actually interacting with your website, your presence online, as opposed to you guessing and coming up with your own interpretations of things. And so these consumer truths can help you to shape your brand strategies, creative ideas, product innovations, or even your media plans. The trouble with this, however, is that insights are notoriously hard to pin down. If you were to ask 100 people what the definition of an insight is, you'll probably get 100 different answers. However, what's clear is that when businesses look to Google for help with finding insights, they're not just looking for data. There's lots of data. Insights are based on data, however, but they're usually novel, credible, and actionable enough to unlock new opportunities that you may not have thought about before. So how do you know you've uncovered a great insight? A great insight is unexpected yet obvious. An insight should inspire action. It has to be useful. So how do you find these kinds of insights? This is where Google Analytics can help you out. So starting off with defining some terms. First, starting with data. Data is information you obtain from users like demographic info, behavior, and activity. Analytics are patterns and trends discovered within the data, and it's how you make sense of it all and uncover meaningful trends. Insights are the value you gain from data and the analytics. And again, how do you know you have a great insight? It should be actionable. So here's an example. Your data will show you that you had 3,000 site visits over the past 30 days. Analytics would show that 30% of those people accessed your site from mobile devices, but the insights will reveal that visitors using mobile devices are 60% more likely to convert. What does that mean for you? However, if you're new to data and analytics, the reports can be overwhelming. So what we're going to do next is look at ways to use data to help make decisions instead of you being overwhelmed and relying on your gut instincts. And this will involve using tools to see patterns in your customer usage. Before you start, however, you need to identify the goals that you're hoping to achieve so that you can ask the right questions of the data. So this is what we're going to cover over the next hour, 40 minutes or so, and then hopefully we'll have more than enough time for Q&A because I know you guys will have questions. So we'll start with the basics of using Google Analytics to better drive your business decisions. And in the first part of the session, we'll discuss what data is, how we can use it to drive those decisions. We'll review in depth the questions that you should be asking of your data to better understand your customers in particular. Then we'll go into the basics of your Google Analytics account and review how you can start collecting the right kind of data. And we'll also take a really high level look at some of the reports that will help you to answer the questions that you may have. Then, of course, to wrap up, I'll give you some action points, right? Or else you just attended a webinar. You have to do something with everything you learned today. And when you guys get a copy of the presentation, I won't review them live, but right after the action points, please keep going in the deck because there'll be some additional resources that you can review on your own time to continue your learning. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is Google Analytics? Google Analytics is a free tool and one of the most popular analytics options available, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. It helps you to better understand customer experience and provides the data you need to understand them and to make the right decisions. Through the reports, you can learn about customers like demographics and interests, understand their behavior on your site. This is really important, right? So if there are pages that no one is ever visiting, or once they get to that page, they immediately abandon the site, these are things that you need to pay attention to so that you can improve your overall customer experience. You'll also get insights as to how customers find your sites, and you'll be able to track and record important actions such as conversions. And that's where we all need to get to as quickly as possible. Now, in a perfect world, your website will lead the users from one page of useful content to the next until they finally convert. Google Analytics can help you to better understand your audience and the insights their activity gives you so that you can make more strategic decisions for your business. Now, there are many types of reports that can help you to better understand how you were found, as well as the engagement on your site. You need to learn, very important here, which search terms and sources drive the most traffic. You need to be able to fix high bounce rates and any misalignment between your visitors and your website's content. You need to pay attention to their interactions with your individual pages, the nature of your traffic, and why those visitors are arriving to your site in the first place. You need to get a really clear profile of the demographic and psychographic profile of your most profitable customers. Okay? And of course, you need to understand the kind of content that your audience is the most interested in. In terms of channels, right? So there are usually different channels that drive traffic to your website. So it may be social media profiles, it could be your YouTube channel, it could be guest blogging that you're doing. You also need to evaluate which channels drive the most conversions. Traffic is one thing, traffic is great, right? In order for you to get conversions, you need traffic, but it's not just about the traffic. You also need to understand where the traffic is coming from that is actually converting. Okay, so to start collecting basic data from your website or app, you first need to create or sign into your analytics account. And to access Google Analytics, you would go to g.co/analytics and do one of the following depending on your situation. So to create an account, you would click Start for Free. And to sign in, if you already have an account, you would click Sign into Analytics. Now, this is a back-to-back situation. In my previous webinar, I had someone who said that they had unwittingly created a Google account with their personal email address. Word of caution for anyone here today who does not have an account, this should be the email address that you use solely to manage your business, not your personal address. Okay. So before we go any further, for those of you who may have been using Google Analytics in the past, you would have noticed that there are now multiple versions of Google Analytics. So if you already had a Google Analytics account before October 14th of 2020, your reports most likely reflect the older version of analytics, and that was called Universal Analytics. If you set up analytics after that date, or if you're going to do it today for the first time, you will see the newest version of Google Analytics, and it's called Google Analytics 4 or GA4. As of today, GA4 is now the officially recommended version for marketers. Good news, don't be worried if you have the older version. If you do have the older version set up, what you need to do is add GA4 to your account. You will not lose your old data, and the existing reports will continue to collect data as well. You will be able to access both sets of reports, which is nice, and many accounts will have the option to use the GA4 Setup Assistant. So for those of you who are in this situation, really quickly to be helpful, to do that, you would click Admin on the left navigation bar, and Admin is the gear icon. It looks like the wheel at the bottom. Then next, you will see an option that says GA4 Setup Assistant. It is the first option in the second column titled Property. And then you will follow the prompts and the wizard will set up GA4 for you. Now, please note that it will take up to 30 minutes for data to begin appearing in your new Google Analytics for Property. Okay, so no worries if you have the older version, you'll be good to go. All right, so once you have either created or signed into your Google Analytics, you will see a dashboard and links to a variety of reports. Reports are great, but they're only useful if you understand what they're telling you, right? Reporting lets you visualize data about your users and their behaviors across your websites, and for those of you who have apps, for your apps as well. The default reports answer common reporting questions, but you can customize them to fit your business needs. The report snapshot shown that I'm sharing right now is displayed when you click Reports in the left navigation, and you can set any overview report to be the snapshot. The right side of the reports highlights a feature called Analytics Intelligence. Analytics Intelligence uses machine learning to help you better understand and act on your data. And most importantly, it simplifies the process of creating reports. For example, you can type in questions in plain English and get fast automated answers. So you may want to know which channel had the highest goal conversion rate. That's what everybody wants to know. So you would type that question and Analytics Intelligence will show a list of channels ranked by conversion rate. Analytics Intelligence will get smarter over time as it learns the type of questions that you specifically are interested in. Another way to use it is to analyze your data and reveal insights on major changes or opportunities that can be relevant for you. For example, it can do things like possibly point out a certain landing page that is performing better than another one. So now that you know how to set up your Google Analytics account, let's dive into what you can learn from the reports. So meet Eve and Ricky. Eve and Ricky are small business owners who sell apparel through their online store. Up until now, they have been making most of their big decisions for their business. Many of us do this. I've been guilty of this myself. From either their own gut instincts or ad hoc feedback that they may get from customers from time to time. However, they've decided to do better. So they have decided to set up Google Analytics to get a better understanding of what's working and what's not working in the store so that they can be more strategic, right? New year, new process, new strategy. This is the perfect time to make these changes, you guys. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. Suppose they want to sell a new t-shirt on their online store. Now, they may have experimented with new designs, really liked one of the prototypes, and immediately added it to their website. Gut instinct, right? Because as business owners, creators, we all think that our products are fabulous, right? So gut instincts told them that this new design was designed to be a bestseller with their assumed, and remember, there's a reason why I'm saying assumed, you guys will hear later, target audience, which they think are females between the ages of 35 and 44. Now, sometimes if we're lucky, making decisions and gut instincts works, but it's always better to base strategic decisions on data. Even decisions that seem to turn out well may see improved results with the data to guide the strategy. So even Ricky can probably tell if their new design is selling or not selling based on sales. But without the data to back this up, they're missing out on a lot of potentially useful information. The worst case scenario is that they can make incorrect assumptions about what was working and what was not working and kind of jeopardize their own success. If a new t-shirt wasn't selling, they might just assume that the new design was a flop and cut their prices and just try to get rid of it. However, without collecting the data, they don't really know the answer, right? So without data, they really don't have the information about who the customers are that are viewing the t-shirt either. And that's where Google Analytics can come in to help. The data from the reports can help them to learn more about their site visitors and what they are and aren't doing. So how could they start to figure this out? And how could you do this for your own business? That's important, right? Start by outlining goals. Goals are the customer actions that you care most about. What outcomes do you want? What do you want to improve? The first outcome that I usually hear is an increase of web traffic by XYZ percentage. And secondly, what you need to find out is what questions do you need to ask? What information do you need to achieve those goals you're hoping to achieve? The art of asking the right question is elusive, but incredibly important. The questions you should ask should direct all energy for gathering data and extracting the insights from the data. And again, those insights should be actionable. Asking the right question should always be a function of your own instinct and knowledge of the business and customer base. So it's okay for you to make informed sort of starting points, but the true answer should always be revealed from your data. So figuring out which questions to ask gets easier over time as you use Google Analytics more and more. And as a quick tip, the questions you ask about your offline marketing or advertising campaigns often apply online as well. So let's start with goals. Start with the outcome in mind, and you may want to make little notes to yourself as we go through this as it relates to your business. What do you want to happen for your business? What are you trying to achieve? Everything you do should support your goals. Now, there are many types of goals. The one that I spoke about earlier spoke about increasing web traffic by XYZ%. But is that goal really meaningful? Think about it. Before we go any further, let's talk about what good business goals are. And those of you who are familiar with business goals would also be familiar with the SMART framework. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself to qualify your goals. Is the goal specific and detailed? Is it measurable? How will you know when you've accomplished it? Is the goal realistically attainable? Will this goal help you reach your overall business goals? Is it relevant to your business? And time frame. When do you want to achieve this goal? Set a time frame, very important. So let's use an example of Eva and Ricky and how we can put this into play. So they might want to decrease their shopping cart abandonment to 60% over the next quarter. They can use Google Analytics to find out how many users have added items to their cart over a period of time. Compare that number to the total transactions during the same period and calculate the cart abandonment rate. Then to reach their goal, they might experiment with modifications to the checkout process. With each incremental change, they could review shopping cart abandonment data to see the effect that the changes had. They may learn things like this. By simplifying the site or reducing the number of steps, most importantly, or improving the load time for the web pages. This is very important, you guys, as most people are purchasing online with mobile devices, right? So your pages can take forever to load. And taking all of these things into consideration, they can start to see improvements and lower their abandonment rates. This is just one example of how you can use Google Analytics to track and measure your goals. Now, of course, every business is different, so your goals will depend on your specific business, but here are some examples that may make sense. Online orders, lead generation, user engagement, downloads, signing up for newsletters, right? You have to apply this to your specific business. So what are your own goals? You can take a few seconds to jot them down and keep them in mind as we continue to go through the workshop. If you're a current business owner, think about the existing goals you might have for your business that you want to monitor and measure with Google Analytics. For those of you who haven't yet created your new website, What purpose do you think your website will serve for you? What conversion goals do you have based on the actions you'd like your customers to take? Feel free to write down a few ideas and revisit them later. Now that we've defined goals, we can consider what questions we need to ask to meet them. Let's look at examples of questions to ask to help you get the answers you need. The framework you're looking at represents stages of a business's relationships with its customers. You need to ask questions and use the answers revealed to move customers through these stages, starting with reach. Reach questions or methods are usually things like advertising, organic search, social media, and offline promotions. After they arrive, you need to engage them. Can they find what they're looking for easily? Then, if you are successfully engaging them, it's conversion time. And with this goal, you need to be sure that you're helping visitors. Your site is organized in a way to help visitors to complete important actions on the site. So for example, they might want to buy a t-shirt or submit a form with a question about a bulk order, or sign up for a newsletter or book an appointment, sign up for an event. How easy is it for them to do this on the site? Ultimately, however, you want to sustain long-term relationships and get customers to return. And you can do this by offering things like reward programs, discounts, right? Referral programs. So a lot of times, I think as business owners, we have our business owner hats on and we forget that we are customers ourselves. So think about the things that the businesses you support or you enjoy interacting with are doing, right? Make a note of those things and see how you can incorporate some of those tactics into your own marketing. Okay, so let's go into the specific questions that you should be asking yourself as it relates to the customer journey that we just went over. Reach questions help you understand brand recognition and awareness and how people find you online. So using even Ricky as an example, they might start by asking, what are people searching for? Who are these people that are searching for what they're searching for? And how did they find us online? Questions like these are important because if potential customers can't find your business online, they can't convert. Not a good situation to be in. Based on what they learn, even Ricky might find clues that lead them to examine their website and communication strategy. Next, moving on to engagement. Engaged questions involve discovering how or if people who find you actually interact with the site. So if they're going to the site and they're not doing anything, they're not even checking out additional pages, they're not clicking on links, then that's a serious problem. So these are the questions you want to ask yourself. Do they navigate to more than one page? Do they watch your videos if you have them? Do they use the search bar at the top of the site to search for things? Are they downloading things like PDFs? Do they look at your menu if you're a restaurant? Think about what engaged questions you can ask as it relates to your business. And if we're using even Ricky as an example, some of the questions they can ask themselves could be how easy it is for people to find their products. Do people create accounts at checkout? Are people downloading the coupons and actually redeeming them that they have on the site? Let's now look at conversion insights. Conversions turn site visitors into paying customers, which is what we all want. Convert questions can help you to find out how or if that's happening at all. Once people find you online, do they take further action? Do they actually purchase? Are they signing up? Are they booking an appointment? Most importantly, which channels are the most effective in driving this type of person? How about examining your different calls to action? And once you change them, how does it impact your sales? Thinking about convert questions can lead you to ask questions like how easy it is really to order from my online store. How can I improve this? Which social media channels drive the most sales? And should any specific efforts be ramped up, scaled down, or completely abandoned, right? Because if you're doing things that are not working at all, you guys, a lot of times I think that, you know, as business owners, we get things in our heads about how our customers react or the things that they're looking for, but it's not about what we think. It's about what's actually happening. And even if you're, you know, hell bent on doing something, you have to respect the fact that it's not working. For some reason, it's not resonating with the end customer, and tweak your strategy. Lastly, but most importantly, you want to convince customers to become loyal customers who continue to interact with your business as well as advocate it to others. This is where sustain comes in. Sustain questions help you to understand what customers say about you online. Do they really like your products and services? If they're giving you feedback, what do they absolutely love? And most importantly, what are they recommending that you do better? And how do you know this? Your reviews, right? Are your customers even inspired to leave reviews? Are they positive? Are they average? Or are they all negative? Hopefully they're not all negative. So to meet the sustained goals, Eva and Ricky may do things like review their customer reviews, see what people are saying about them online. Now think about other sustained questions that you can ask yourself, all right? In Eva and Ricky's case, they may want to think about, if a customer bought a shirt with a specific design, would they be interested in other products like it? And again, take off your business owner hat, put on your customer hat, because I get caught with this all of the time. So I go online and I just need XYZ garment, right? Put it in my shopping cart. What pops up? Customers who purchased that also bought the entire outfit with the shoes and the handbag. And now all of a sudden, all I needed was a blouse and I have an entire outfit, right? I'm a marketer, I should know this trick, but I fall for it every time. Why? Because they do such a good job of making those additional recommendations. You need to get a clear understanding of who your loyal repeat customers are and reward them. If people are writing online reviews, you need to know where they're published and what they're saying about you. Okay, so moving on to the reports and how we uncover all of this data. Again, if you set up Google Analytics before October 14, 2020, your reports will look a little different. Some of the reports that you will find in the older version include real-time reports, and that's useful in monitoring activity in the here and now as it happens. Audience reports for insights into characteristics of users, acquisition to discover how users arrive at your site, behavior, which explores how users interact with your site or app, and conversion, of course, will tell you ultimately how successful your website or app is. Let's move on to take a look at some of the newer reports available in Google Analytics 4. Starting with acquisition. These reports show data about how users arrive on your website or mobile app, and they can help you to develop an understanding of how users find your site. Acquisition, acquire, how did they get there? The report includes user acquisition and traffic acquisition. And so you have access to see data on users and new users, right? So people who are brand new compared to people who have been to the site before. Traffic acquisition shows data about new sessions. The traffic dimensions, like the medium or the referring channels. So for example, is it your ad campaigns? And the source would be where people came from before they arrived on your site. And having an understanding of these factors will help you to understand where your traffic is coming from. The report also includes the word session to indicate that the traffic dimensions are about new sessions, right? And again, this information can help you to understand the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. Moving on to engagement. These reports help you to measure user interactions on your website. Engagement includes more than page views. For example, you can measure when users check an account balance, scroll down a page slowly, and what does slow scrolling indicate? It means they're actually reading and paying attention. Whether they're spending enough time or, an increased time on specific product pages, or whether they're watching an informational video. Engaged sessions are a collection of events that a user triggers within a specified time frame. An engaged session is a session that is either 10 seconds or longer, had one or more conversion events, or had 2 or more page views. So that's what you're looking for. Something that was longer than 10 seconds or 10 seconds or more, had one or more conversion events, or had 2 or more page views. Now, if you have an e-commerce website, you will probably use the monetization reports. Put simply, it tells you if people are buying your stuff, right? Wouldn't have a successful business, e-commerce business, if this is not happening. So these let you measure purchase, ads, and subscription revenue. And you'll be able to get insights as to how users interact with items, such as the products you sell, and also measure steps in the checkout funnel. These reports are key in helping you to understand consumer behavior and enhance your strategy. Retention reports help you understand how frequently and for how long users engage with your website after their first visit. In other words, do they return? And if they return, when do they return? And for how long? And when they return, what are they doing? One note about these reports: this is a useful metric to consider, but the data in the report should not be taken as an absolute truth, because in some cases, technology cannot track that visitor previously visited your website. So we have to kind of take it with a grain of salt sometimes. Last but not least is the demographic reports. And the demographic topic helps you to classify your users by age, location, language, and gender, along with the interest they express through their online browsing and purchase activities. The reports include interactive charts, diagrams, and tables to help you to better visualize the data. Okay, one last side note. As online services, including Google Analytics, move away from cookies, this is happening, demographic insights are becoming less reliable, which as a marketer, I am really not happy about. But true first-party data, for example, how people are navigating your site directly, not their demographics modeled via other site behavior, is becoming more important. And you can still find this information in Google Analytics. Okay, so we started by talking about gut instincts and how we should not rely on them solely to make important decisions about our business, and how important it is to rely more on data. So if we asked Eva and Ricky to list out their gut instincts and compare them to the data, hypothetical data, they might be surprised by the results, or maybe not so surprised, that the report will confirm. It might end up that Eva and Ricky discover that most of their gut instincts, which they were relying on to drive their business, were actually incorrect. Yikes. They assume that their top audience is 35 to 44-year-old females. What the data revealed is that, in fact, most of their customers are actually 25 to 34-year-old males. Oh my goodness, they were completely off. Or maybe they learned that most of their traffic comes from organic search, not paid ads. What does this mean? It means that they then need to repurpose some of that money that they're using on ads and make sure that their SEO, search engine optimization, that's how you come up in organic search, that their SEO strategy gets even better because it's already working from them. However, they may learn that the visitors from their paid ads are more likely to buy their shirts. So that's kind of like a little little curveball in there, right? So the majority of the traffic is coming from organic search. However, the people who respond to the ads buy more, right? Lastly, they're able to see that most of their purchases are from brand new customers and first-time visitors, not their loyal following as they had previously assumed. And so one of the things that I said earlier is that you really need to focus on sustain, right? Which is making sure that your customers become loyal customers. Why is this important? Now, it is 7 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to keep a happy customer happy. Because a happy customer, what do? They return, they make purchases, and they also refer people like themselves to you. Bottom line here is that without data, you're guessing, and Google Analytics can help you take the guessing out of the equation. Okay, so let's move on to some advanced features and take a look at a few ways to refine your reports with some advanced reporting features. If you have already been using Google Analytics, it's likely you've been using dimensions all along. You just didn't know they were called dimensions. Dimensions describe your data. For example, common dimension would be city. And city describes where the user's session originates. Okay? Another dimension could be a device or browser being used. Each report includes a primary dimension, and this is a lens from which you can view the data. Sometimes, most times, especially as you become more comfortable, you want to dig deeper into that, and that's where secondary dimensions come into play. These allow you to layer on another dimension so that you can get a more in-depth view of the data you're analyzing. Here's an example. You can set the primary dimension as New York City, then layer on a secondary dimension like browser. This will allow you to see how many visitors from New York City and which web browsers they use to access your site. You see that? So now you're getting even more information than just city. Secondary dimensions are another useful feature that help you to interpret reports. Secondary dimensions lets you to limit the data displayed, and it applies only to the current visualization of the data. In other words, it temporarily changes the view of the report that you're looking at. Now, you can also use dimensions to exclude internal traffic or traffic from particular geographies, or include only users in specific age brackets. To add a secondary dimension, you would navigate to the report you're interested in examining, and at the top of each table of the data, look for that plus symbol, right? Click to expand a menu of options and choose the items you want to display in the report. Now the report will change to reflect that view. And if you want to remove them, you just click the X and it will reset the report to the default menu. Okay. Google Analytics is a powerful tool in itself, and you should by all means get as comfortable as it is possible. But it has another great advantage, and that is it connects and communicates with other tools such as Google Ads. So this allows your Google Ads reports to benefit from the Google Analytics data if you choose to share it. And as a best practice, I would link them, because then you get a 60-degree view of everything that's happening. So why is linking Google Ads to Google Analytics a good idea? Here are 3 reasons why. First, you can learn what happens after users click your ad. This helps you to understand things like visitor behavior, specifically paid ad visitor behavior. And this information can help you learn what's working and what you may need to improve. Secondly, you can target specific users based on their previous behavior. And by linking your Google Analytics with your ads account, you can define customer groups by their activity on your site. For instance, you can do things like identify the audience who has put 3 or more items in their shopping cart only to abandon it. What's going on there? By offering this group a temporary promotion, and again, take off your business owner hat and put on your customer hat. This happens to all of us all of the time. Did you forget something in your shopping cart? Right? It happens to me all the time. By offering this group a temporary promotion, you may be able to convince them to follow through on the transaction instead of leaving the site. And many times, you guys, for me, anyway, and I'm sure you can relate, when I am doing things like adding multiple items to a shopping cart and not checking out, is because I've become distracted. Oh my goodness, I have this Zoom meeting, I have this webinar to present, or my 6-year-old, needs whatever, right? So the fact that somebody has put 3 or more items in the shopping cart, definitely. So you want to remind them to continue and complete the transaction. Thirdly, you can better understand your paid traffic and if certain keywords do or do not convert. By linking Google Ads with your Google Analytics, you'll learn if clicks on your ads actually translates into conversions on your site. Okay. And so word of caution, I got this question in my last session, you know, because somebody clicks on your ad and does not purchase immediately does not mean that that's a wasted click. So I would recommend that when you're doing your Google ads, that you don't only do the buy now ads, you also do the ads that funnel that person into a nurturing funnel, right? So maybe you're asking them to just sign up for a newsletter or show interest in something in particular, and you then have that contact information that you can continue to communicate with them over time. Unfortunately, many people don't like this stat, but it takes 7 to 14 exposures for even a qualified lead to convert unless it's an emergency. If somebody wants something and it's an emergency, they have to have it today, that buy now ad may work that first time. But for most people, especially if your brand is unknown to them, they need a little bit more information. They need to hear from you more. They need to do some research, read the reviews first, hear some customer testimonials, maybe try out a sample. And so you want to make sure that you're just not only doing for all advertising, whether it's Google ads or other digital advertising, that you're not only focusing on those buy now ads, that you're also making sure that you're feeding your overall marketing funnel. Okay. So how do we link? How do we make this link? To link Google Ads to analytics, you must first create an account for each product you want to link. And once your account is set up, you can head over to the admin section of analytics. And from there, click the product you want to connect under the property column. Now, the process for each product will vary slightly, but they all involve putting in or selecting the account that you want in your analytics account. Now, the easiest way, you guys, to get through this is a pro tip, is that you should register all of your Google products under the same Google email address. That takes half of the potential snafus that you may have out of the mix if you do that. Because behind the scenes, the tools will recognize that it's that one central email address that has access to different properties, and it makes linking much easier. Okay, almost at the end of the session, and then we can speak to each other. So we've covered a lot of information today. I'm aware. Let's talk about what you should do next. All right, key takeaways. So now you know that you need goals. You have some insight into the questions that you need to ask, right? Remember to always ask those questions based on the phases of the customer engagement, which to review would be reach, engage, convert, and sustain, and get really comfortable with understanding the reports that you can use to answer these questions. Okay, so like I said, when you get a copy of the presentation, I wouldn't go through them, but just keep going after this slide, and you will have access to some additional resources that you can, on your own time, log in and continue to learn more about Google's digital tools. All right, so that is the official end of the presentation. And at this time, I'm going to stop sharing and we will speak to each other. So here it goes, 8 minutes. Let's go.
We can do it. All right. Well, thank you. That was a lot of great information. I want to start with a very common question that's really zoomed out. Everybody asks, how often do I need to even look at these metrics? How often do I need to look at analytics?
Yes, absolutely. I would say that you should be doing it at least once a month. When you're just starting, you may need to do it even more frequently, like once a week, because you really need to understand the kind of data that you're getting access to. Okay, and then over time, as you become more comfortable and as things are working, right, then maybe, every other month or something. But in the beginning, because you really need to understand what's going on, I would say weekly and then monthly for sure.
Great. That's a pro tip.
Yeah.
All right, next question. And several people asked this in the chat because we all have different platforms that everything is built on. So what are the benefits of using analytics from WordPress, from Square, and from Google Analytics? Do I need to look into every system, or should I just be in GA? Like, what do we do? It's a lot.
It is a lot. And, honestly, all of those tools do a great job of doing exactly what Google Analytics does. I think that you should try two, right? Try two of them, compare the reports, and see from your perspective which one of the two is giving you the information that you really need, that you can act on and make meaningful changes for your business. The thing with Google Analytics is that it plays nice with every platform, right? So whether you have a WordPress website or a Square website or whatever website you have, you can still use Google Analytics. So I usually recommend that people go with Google Analytics. Sometimes they are already using, the analytics from the platform that they're using, and those work just as well.
Great. So a question to build on that came up from anonymous attendee here in the Q&A box is, when do I need to start paying for additional analytics? Like, is there a tipping point? Do you have advice for people on here about at what stage do you need to like click in and maybe get more than what is just the out of the box?
Honestly, from my perspective, right, this is just my perspective, it will take you a really long time to get to the stage where you have to pay for the analytics, right? Maybe you would start spending money on ads, right? But just from the free version, there is too much information sometimes that you get, that honestly, I don't think paying for analytics should be something that you worry for a really long time. What you could pay for, though, is maybe for someone who knows this really well to help you to understand the reports. And once you do that, it takes a really long time for you to have to actually pay for the data. Why would you? It's all there, right? You need to just understand the decisions that need to be made. And then maybe some of the tactics that you need to employ would have to be paid for. But paying for the analytics itself, that's a long way off. It's not necessary at all. I don't recommend it.
I think it's a great
Fortune 500 company, but yeah, we all, including me, have some time to get there.
Yes. I will say to the group here, I mean, even some inside intel at Tory Burch, we're on Google Analytics. Our investments go into other areas as a business. Like you said, the tip to do ads, other things like that, having the experts to help us with our data, as opposed to extra bells and whistles and insights, because there's only so much data you can make decisions based on.
Exactly.
All right.
Don't let anybody trick you into that. I think that question is based on something that may have been heard. So unhear that part.
All right. A question that came in from Lauren here in the Q&A box is, how do you determine the source of traffic from channels, from your marketing channels, when it comes into GA as unassigned, referral, or you have that mysterious direct bucket? And how can we understand a little bit more?
So direct is very easy. Direct means they literally typed your URL in, so they already knew about you. So that's taken that's taken care of. They knew who you are, and that's good, right? They came. Sometimes if you work with somebody who helps to figure out these reports, they can dig into what that referral traffic is. What I would concern myself more than figuring out where that traffic is coming from is if it's even converting. If it's converting, you definitely need to do some more research to find out where it's coming from, because you need to be there, right? If it's not converting, then again, it's something that you should not be spending too much time worrying about. What is this mysterious link? Now, if this person from the mysterious link is spending a lot of money, then you should, delve deeper to figure out where they're coming from.
Great. Okay, I have several more questions. This one is about competition. So someone asked here, how do I see where my competitors' traffic is coming from? Can I get their data and information? Like, what do we do? We want to know how
analytics cannot help you to spy on your competitors. This is all about you. However, what you can do, and this speaks more to search engine optimization, is that you can try to figure out keywords and key terms that they're using to be found in Google organic search. Right. So actually the session that I taught before this spoke about that, right? If first of all, getting the intel on the keywords that are trending within your specific industry, typing them into the Google search bar, and everybody should do this, by the way. And if you're not coming up, there's a problem. If your competitors are coming up, that means that they're using the keywords. That's why they're coming up. And then of course, there are also ads, but that's different. You cannot pay to surface in organic results. So Google Analytics will not give you intel on your competitors, but you can do things like doing research on the search terms. You can do things like using Google Trends to figure out the popularity of certain terms, right? But Google Analytics can help you to spy your competitors, unfortunately.
When you're doing your self-spying and searching, just a reminder for folks here, don't search the things that you think
Right.
the customer is going to search. Actually be the customer and
Exactly.
search if you're a customer, not
exactly. Take off, I keep saying, right? Take off the business owner and put on the customer hat. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to try and get through 2 more questions here. Okay. Lonnie asked a question about, can you see the email addresses of visitors that have come to your website in Google Analytics? No, but how could you?
The way to capture them, remember I said you need to run funnel campaigns where you're actually collecting the email addresses, right? And that is a very valuable tactic because what does it do? It allows you to continue to communicate with them over time.
Great. Okay. Service-based businesses, there are a lot of you on and you ask great questions. What metrics, what SMART goals for a service-based business should they consider? Because it's a different conversation. It's
no
not
buy now, right? I have a service-based business. There's no buy now on my website. There are definitely downloads to free resources where I capture email addresses so I can continue to market to them, signing up for your basic newsletter, scheduling consultations, right? Attending webinars like this. So definitely the goals for service-based businesses are a little different, but you can come up with them. What does that initial engagement with your ideal client, what did it look like? And how you can translate that into the online space is what you need to think about.
Great. Do you have time for me to do one last one? All right. Michelle asked about tracking monetization with an e-commerce site rather than with an e-commerce site, but when you want to connect to a payment processor, can you bridge the gap in GA between those 2?
Yes, you can. It's a little more complicated than I can answer in 30 seconds, but yes, definitely. Monetization, actually, that's what it tracks. How are people actually spending money and what tools they're using? Yes. And for people who have e-commerce sites, you should enable every possible way that somebody can give you money. So whether it's digital wallets, all the options, all of the above, enable them all. And then you also get that feedback, right? And the people who are spending money with you, how they're spending that money. Yes.
Well, that was a sprint on our Q&A, and I know there's a lot more questions, folks. We have hundreds of you on today. We're so appreciative, Petya, of your time, your expertise. So I just want to thank you